Well, we've just got a new objective as well as a lot of balance changes. So I present to you the new objective, the Unstable Rift. Now, I'm going to be showing you guys what it looks like. But essentially, we've got the Unstable Rift that is opening right in front of us in the New York map of Deadlock. And it's a King of the Hill objective, right? So what that means is that it's essentially the previous Earn objective, and you'll see in a second. So this is kind of the warning that it gives you before it spawns, as it kind of tells you, hey, it's going to spawn right here. Just stay tuned. And when it does spawn, it will show an area, just like it does right here. And as you can see the progress bar at the top, as well as how much money it's worth currently. Obviously, we're 45 seconds into the game, so it's worth just as much as the Earn was previously. And when you capture it, what's really cool, first of all, I love the music and the setting. And I mean, this makes me so excited for what's to come for Deadlock objectives in the future. But, you know, I think it's really cool. And then it spawns these special troopers. So these are like Rift troopers, I think they called them. As you can see, they're very like different looking. They're bigger. They've got this kind of like, you know, black like galaxy thing going on, like they're, you know, coming from another world. And they're super tanky, right? Like they can take down this Guardian probably by themselves. And this is at 1 minute. Guardians have a lot of resistance this early into the game, and you know, they're not messing around. So this is super cool. But this is not the only thing they've made. They've also reworked the Earn, where the Earn is now an objective that is a solo objective, and it no longer disarms you, right? So when you can shoot, you can use abilities, you can do everything. And when you deliver the Earn, it's no longer a team objective. So I'm going to no clip so we can be a little bit faster, a little bit of cheating here. But when you deliver the Earn, the way that it works now is the souls are once again up in the air, right? And you can secure them. And if you secure all of them, it only goes to you. However, if a teammate helps you secure them, they also share in the total Earn bounty. So it's meant to be more of a solo objective. And there's a lot of other balance changes around the objectives, like, you know, the net worth mechanics, like the comeback mechanics being scaled based on net worth. And we're going to get into all of that in the detailed patch notes that are to come in just a second. All right, we've got a lot of text to get through, so, you know, get a snack, get some water, get comfortable, because we're going to be reading a lot of stuff, and it might be dense, but I'm going to do my best to make it as simple as possible for you guys so that you can, you know, apply this new things in your games. Well, the first thing to talk about is the new objective, right? So they've basically split up the Earn and the King of the Hill apart. All right, so one problem that I kept talking about is like every fight is a 6v6. There's no other objective to trade. It feels really bad, etc., etc. So they've decided, hey, we're going to keep the King of the Hill, but we're going to make it its new objective called the Unstable Rift, right? And then the Earn itself is a separate thing. And the Earn is also quite different. So the Unstable Rift, essentially, it's an objective that spawns every 6 to 7 minutes. Yep, they included a 6-7 joke in the patch notes, right? And it has a variable start time, so it's not fixed when it spawns exactly. And there's a global announcement 25 seconds before it spawns. So I think that, you know, the idea with this is to kind of make it so that it's not as easy to like react to, so that not everything turns into a 6v6 and it's kind of like a little bit more spontaneous. I'm not sure how I feel about the RNG like variability aspect of it, but I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. And it's definitely going to bring a lot more chaos into the games, which might be a good thing short term. Another thing they've done is they've made the comeback bonuses. So previously with the Earn, if you had a comeback Earn, you would get 35% resist of both types when you deposited the Earn in the area of the King of the Hill, right? So now they scale that comeback bonus, scales linearly based on the amount of net worth they're trailing. So what that means is that, you know, if you're 10% behind, you're going to get less than if you are 15% behind, right? Less comeback bonuses. So I think that that's a good thing. And that's something people had been asking for quite some time. The Unstable Rift spawns Rift Troopers, right? Which is really cool. It's the first type of new trooper we've had, which I think is awesome. And they get sent down from the Rift location. And when you are behind, it can spawn up to 12 troopers. But if it's an even one, it's 5 troopers. Right? And those troopers have extra health and extra damage, and they look different, as you guys might have seen in the footage earlier. Any players in the Unstable Rift Zone are revealed on the minimap. But essentially, the last thing I want to say about these troopers is that these troopers are really meant to just like give you momentum and allow you to push an objective. So I've been complaining for a long time, hey, there's nothing that really motivates people to push a walker. But now if you're behind, right, and you get the comeback Unstable Rift, and you've got 12 troopers that spawn, I mean, that's basically a guaranteed walker as well, right? You've got a huge wave. It's going to be really difficult to deal with, and it gives you a reason to push the walker. And even if you're not behind, getting that extra wave is going to make it so you have at minimum like a double wave pushing the walker. And these Rift troopers are like, you know, way stronger than regular troopers, so it should give like people more of a reason to push. Now there's a couple other changes which I don't think are super important. At the end of the day, like it gives about the same bounty that the Earn King of the Hill gave. So it's essentially they've removed the Earn from the equation and they've added the new King of the Hill objective that functions slightly differently. It's going to be more RNG as far as like when it spawns exactly, and it's going to give you a trooper wave when you finish it if you win. Essentially, that's kind of the TLDR. Now for Earn is now its own objective. It spawns on either end of the map where the previous neutral pickup locations were, so there doesn't seem to be comeback locations anymore, and gets delivered to the opposite end, and it spawns every 5 minutes starting at 10 minutes. So we went back to the old spawn time, so 10, 15, 20. The Earn Runner is no longer revealed and is not disarmed or silenced, right? So there's still a couple things, like for example, you can't go through the doorman doorway, Mirage teleport, etc. Like a few things still drop it. But you're going to be able to use all of your abilities. You're going to be able to shoot. You're going to be able to do everything when you have the Earn. So it's going to make the Earn feel like a little bit less of a chore. However, you cannot manually drop it. So you can't be like, oh, I'm going to pick up the Earn and then give it to my Ivy or give it to my Kelvin. You have to keep the Earn on you the whole time. The Earn Runner can no longer parry, which, you know, is interesting, which means that if you see someone with the Earn, you can just, you know, melee them the whole time. However, it gets dropped when you get hit with a light or heavy melee, are stunned, or are killed. So you can't parry. If you get meleeed, you're going to drop it, but you can't manually drop it. It stays where it drops, and it does not walk back home. So that is one interesting thing, is it doesn't reset from the warding here. I haven't seen it play yet because, you know, I'm recording this. So I'm not exactly sure what it means, but from what I'm reading, I just think that it's going to, if it gets dropped, it's just going to stay there no matter what. Maybe that there's like a time, like maybe a few minutes or something, but there's no time indicated anywhere. The Earn bounty value starts decaying after 45 seconds from being picked up. It drains gradually over another 45 seconds, and then the Earn is removed when the bounty is empty. Okay, so I guess that's kind of the reset mechanic. So in order to make it so that you can't just hold the Earn forever, you can just deny the Earn if you want. If you pick it up and eventually after 90 seconds, the Earn is going to be worthless. It's unclear whether it drains when it's on the ground, just waiting for someone to pick it up, because it says from being picked up. It doesn't say anything about being dropped. The instant deposit is back, so you just deposit it instantly. The Earn is worth a lot less, to be clear. It's worth 250 souls plus 70 per minute. So to give you guys an idea, that means that at 10 minutes, the Earn is worth almost 1,000 souls. And then, you know, the Earn at like 15 minutes is going to be worth like 1,200 souls-ish. And then the Earn at 20 minutes is going to be worth like another like 1,500, right? It's not going to be this huge net worth objective. It's going to be like a much smaller net worth swing, but it's still going to be important. It does give you 4 permanent buffs. And the secure mechanic has also been changed, which means that upon deposit, all of the souls are released as orbs into the air. If another ally secures the orbs, they share the bounty with the Earn Runner. So the bounty does not by default go to your team. It only goes to the person running it. However, if multiple people secure the orbs, you know, you can share the bounty in that way. The Earn is now louder when it talks and is easier to hear by nearby enemies, which is funny. After 3 minutes from spawn, the Earn will start walking very slowly on his own towards the deposit location. Wait, really? Wow. Okay, that is actually hilarious. Basically, the Earn is like, I'm tired of your stuff. I'm going to the deposit myself if you're not going to pick me up. I think that's hilarious, and I'm curious to see how that's going to play out in like lower ranked games where people have a tendency to ignore the Earn and ignore objectives, where the Earn's just going to go like halfway through the map. What happens if it goes all the way to the deposit by itself? I'm actually curious. I guess maybe it deposits itself and then the orbs are in the air and you have to secure them. That'd be kind of funny. The Earn Runner's passive bonuses while holding it now scale behind based on how behind you are rather than being on or off. Same as Unstable Rift. So in general, like, it seems like with the comeback bonuses from these objectives, rather than just being like, hey, you have them or you don't have them, they're like, well, depending on how far you are, you're going to get some, you know, and it's going to scale. I think it's much healthier for the game because there's a lot of like gamification of like, oh, we're 9% behind, someone go die, so we get the comeback Earn, you know, and that doesn't really make sense to me. So I think that this makes a lot more sense. All right, so starting into the balance changes, now that we've gone through the objective, we've got everyone's favorite thing, a spreadsheet. All right, so I'm going to save you guys the trouble of reading the spreadsheet. They've reworked the boon reward table. Now, what does this actually mean? Okay, so I haven't spent a ton of time analyzing this yet, but my early analysis essentially shows the following. One is that you actually get your early AP slightly earlier, right? So for example, here at 10,000 souls, before you had 11 AP, now you have 13. at 20,000 souls. Before you had 19, now you have 22 AP. So the early AP, you get it a little bit earlier. However, as you go later into the game, you start getting your AP much later. So before 40,000 souls, you had all of your AP. Now, for people that don't know what AP is, it's just your ability upgrade points, right? So at 40,000 souls, all of your abilities were maxed out. Now we went back, and this wasn't always the case. So we've gone back to 48,600 souls, which I believe it was previously around that. That's when you get all of your AP. So what does this mean? This means that it's going to take longer for characters to, hit their maximum power. I think that they're aiming to reduce the power of farming characters a bit with this. But we'll see how it plays out exactly. But that's essentially what you need to understand. Now, health per boon has been reduced by 5% across the board, right? So people are saying, hey, everyone's a little too tanky, and it's kind of true. So now everyone's a little squishier. All ultimate base and upgrade cooldowns nerfed by 15%, rounded to the nearest multiple of 5. So I think, people just felt like there was a little bit too many ultimates being thrown around all the time, and this is not the first ultimate nerf or cooldown nerf there's been in Deadlock, so they've kind of continuously nerfed cooldowns to make it a little bit more, feel a little bit more special. I think now Dynamo, I'm actually curious what Dynamo's ult cooldown is going to be now, because it feels like it's going to be really long, but we'll see. The Rejuvenator got nerfed as well. So now instead of 4 minutes, it's 3. So you don't have as much time to get as many objectives. I think this is a great change, especially with the Unstable Rift. Now that there's more to do on the map control is going to matter more, which means that, having a Rejuve that lasts 4 minutes probably would have been too powerful. So 3 minutes is probably a preemptive change. The respawn changes are a bit interesting. So basically what they've done is they've made it so that, when you get closer to 20 minutes, your respawn timer is going to be slightly more aggressive than it was previously. So deaths are going to be slightly more punishing than they were before when you're around the 17 to 20 minute mark. Just by a few seconds, but it will matter. They've reduced the bounty of a few things. So Guardians and Walkers give less money. Only slightly, but it does matter, right? Walkers give 500 less. Guardians give 250 less. Kills give a little bit less money as far as the first blood and the base kill bounty. And troopers also give less money at first. So until 20 minutes, basically troopers give less. After 20 minutes, they give more because they have less base bounty, but they have higher scaling. And so if the game goes really late, troopers are going to start giving a lot of money. Once again, this does seem, all of these changes to me seems like they're targeting heroes that would skyrocket in net worth very quickly. Talking about heroes like Seven, Wraith, even Venator. Basically the heroes that would want to sit on side lanes, just absorb trooper souls for a really long time. And then eventually push a walker and get what I would call flash net worth events where their net worth would explode very quickly. Also, it does seem, I didn't even really realize this was a thing, right? But the minimum unsecured souls allowed to drop reduced from 150 to 50 plus 5 per minute. So I didn't actually realize that there was a minimum unsecured souls allowed to drop. I didn't realize if you had less than 150 unsecured souls, they just wouldn't drop. So this is an interesting change. Essentially, past a certain point, this won't actually mean much, but early in the lane, one thing that this will affect is if you go on a box run, you're much more likely to drop unsecured souls if you die than you were before. They've also made it so the deniable flying orb is now 50% of the trooper bounty rather than 40%. I'm not sure if I like that change. We'll see. It's been 50% in the past and they've changed it to 40 and people preferred that, but they're going back to 50. The dash jump input window has been increased from 0.2 to 0.25 seconds, which means that it should be easier to dash jump, as far as I'm aware. It's going to be slightly more forgiving, a little bit better for newer players. Dash jump distance has been increased by 1 meter, and the vertical impulse increased by a little bit as well. Essentially, these are just buffs to dash jump, which I think is the right way to do it, because overall, I think dash jumps were just inferior to a lot of other movement techniques, and were kind of bait. And I don't think that you should be punished for using 2 stamina to move, right? Which is kind of what felt dash jump were doing. So buffing this is the right way to go, in my opinion. Jump pads on top of the double centers building have been removed. So this is a massive change. This essentially makes it significantly harder to invade enemy double centers because now you won't be able to just escape right after killing them. So huge change. Hovering an item in the shop now shows you a preview of your investment bars. This is just quality of life. And then there's some street brawl stuff. So seems like mostly quality of life stuff. I'm not really too worried about that. Now let's get into the item balance, which is very short, right? And I think that the items are mostly balanced, so I'm completely fine with the item balance being short. So Mystic Shot got a slight cooldown nerf from 8 to 9 seconds. Toxic Bullets bleed damage went from 1.7 to 1.9 base, so it got a slight buff. Scourge got essentially taken out back for non-spirit heroes, so this is a nerf that I've been talking about that they should be doing. Scourge did not scale with spirit previously, so no matter whether you had 0 spirit or 200 spirit, it was the same item. So now instead of doing 3.5% max health damage, it does 2.6%, but it has a spirit scaling of 0.0055. I believe you need like something like 150 spirit or so to break even with the previous damage. So Scourge is going to be worse for almost every hero that bought Scourge. And you're going to need like a lot of spirit to make it actually good. Now, one interesting thing is like this makes it so if you're playing a hero like Grey Talon, right, and you have a lot of spirit, Scourge is actually better than it was before. If you get like, if you get like 250 spirit, it's going to be better, which Grey Talon can absolutely achieve that amount of spirit. And you can still put it on your front lines. So we might see like a slightly different version of Scourge where it might be more used by kind of backliners that have a lot of spirit to put them on their frontliners. So it's still just as good, but it's going to be bought less by heroes that, don't really build a lot of spirit in the first place. Like we were seeing like Silvers with 0 spirit item, so just buy Scourge as their only spirit item. Cursed Relic also got from -10 to -14% damage penalty, which is a significant change. It's going to make it so that, you really don't want to buy this if you want to do damage. So yeah. Now, hero balance, we've got quite a bit to go into. So first of all, Abrams, he did not get the infamous Infernal Resilience plus or -1%, so he was spared. But he did get Siphon Life Tier 3, Radius nerfed by 1 meter, and the Shoulder Charge Tier 3 also got nerfed by 2 seconds, meaning you get 2 seconds longer cooldown than you did before. So very small nerfs, but Abrams is always a hero that like the balance of Abrams is always like fairly tight, meaning even small nerfs tend to affect them a lot. And also every hero is like slightly squishier, which, should also hurt Abrams a bit, although we'll see. Apollo got some further buffs. So Riposte Tier 1 got buffed. The Grace window to target after channel was increased, which I think is a great change because I felt it was always very awkward to like target someone after your Riposte. The cast range was also increased significantly, so 35 meters. You're going to be able to cast people pretty far now. And the targeting angle also increased, so overall, like targeting Riposte is going to be so much easier. The Flawless Advance Heal on hero hit spirit scaling increased as well, so these are all things that make him slightly better at just being in people's face. And the max AP for the ultimate was buffed to plus 50% damage instead of plus 40. Now, Billy got some nerfs. Bullet damage reduced by 10% overall per boon. Back down melee scaling reduced as well from 1.1 to 0.9, so you can't heal like absurd amounts later in the game. The Tier 3 has also been nerfed from 60% heavy melee damage to 50. The Rising Ram Tier 3 has also been nerfed. However, it has been buffed as far as scaling goes. So if you go full spirit, right? Like if you have more than 111 spirit power, it'll essentially be better than it was before. So it's kind of like an adjustment, right? So if you rush Rising Ram Tier 3, it's going to be worse than it was before. However, if you get Rising Ram Tier 3 after you have something like Boundless Spirit and a lot of spirit investment, it's going to do more than it did before. So it's an interesting compromise, and I do like the fact that they're still allowing you to build into it if you want to. You just have to invest into it. Celeste got some buffs across the board. So Dazzling Trick cooldown was reduced. Radiant Dagger's buff duration was increased. The spirit scaling was increased. The bounce range from her ultimate was increased, and the damage was increased. So, Celeste, I don't think she was like super weak, but she was definitely not super strong. I think that these changes are going to do a lot for the hero to kind of bring her back, as well as the fact that everybody's going to be slightly squishier, which should help her as well, but we'll see. So the Doorway cooldown for Doorman was nerfed by 5 seconds. That's pretty much the only change to Doorman. I would say that this is probably the hero that I'm least satisfied with in terms of balance. Like, I do think that, maybe he should have had a slight damage nerf, but I think that they don't want to nerf him too much because at lower ranks, he's not really as much of a threat. So it's okay, but I do think Doorman's still going to be insanely strong. Drifter got some slight buffs. So health per boon increased from 41 to 43. Ren cast time reduced a little bit, so it's cast faster. The post cast time has also been reduced, so you're actionable faster. The tier 2 cooldown got buffed, and the Blood Scent tier 1 got buffed, and the Blood Scent tier 2 got buffed. So just buffs across the board. Drifter was maybe on the weaker side. With more objectives on the map, there should be like more split action, which should also help Drifter. So I predict Drifter might be like a decent hero, like pretty good probably. Dynamo basically got nothing, just a rejuvenating Aurora. regeneration increased by 5. So this is the base regen from it. So yeah, it's nice. It'll help, his laning stage and stuff. Great Talon Rain of Arrows cooldown was nerfed by another 2 seconds, which it had been nerfed by 2 seconds previously. Now it's nerfed even more. And the Guided Owl Permanent Spirit got nerfed by 2. So now instead of getting +10, you get +8, which, that means I'm going to have to change my Twitch emote to +8, but that's all right. Holiday Powder Keg velocity reduced slightly, thank God. The charge delay was increased by 0.5 seconds. This is honestly criminal. Like, it should have been increased by more, in my opinion, or they should have reduced the tier 3 charge scaling, but whatever. Holiday gets away with it again. Powder Keg Spirit scaling reduced from 1.4 to 1.2, and the tier 3 reduced from +100 to +80. So nerfs across the board. I'm curious to see how this will impact her. I think she'll still be quite strong. I don't think they want to take her out back because she'd been like quite weak for a while, and then they buffed her, and then now she's like really strong. So she'll probably stay strong for a bit. Haze Sleep Dagger has been some slightly buffed, and the Smoke Bomb tier 3 has also been slightly buffed. So very slight Haze buffs. I don't think this will change her place in the meta too much, but I do think that the overall meta should benefit Haze more going forward. So I predict that she'll be going up in the rankings for sure. Ivy got some slight buffs to her Entangling Thorn Spirit scaling. The Kudzu Connection Replicated Healing per boon got a huge buff from +0.5 to +0.85. So this means that she does a lot of healing. So I think that this will help her a lot, and this will help the build where you max your 2 for sure. Airdrop cooldown reduction when used on allies from -25 to -30. So they really want you to use this on allies. So guys, make sure you IV ult your teammates and you throw them into the enemy team, even if it's griefing them. Lash ground strike cooldown reduced from 21 to 18 seconds. And the flog angle was increased from 30 to 38. Mina Rake missing health as damage increased from 5 to 6%. Sanguine Retreat tier 3 now also increases range by +3 meters. Nox Nostra damage increased a bit, and the Nox Nostra tier 1 damage also was increased a bit. So overall, pretty significant Mina buffs. I don't know how much it's going to change. I didn't think the hero was that weak, so I think that she's going to be back to being strong, but it's really hard to tell overall. The heroes being slightly squishier also helps her a bit because she's inherently a spirit burst hero. But yeah, we'll see. As far as the last changes, like I don't really think that it's going to change too much. At the end of the day, it's going to help him a bit for sure. But I think the ground strike having a lower cooldown is not going to make the ground strike build good still. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Sandblast tier 2 on Moan Krill increased from -25 to -30% slow. And the tier 3 now gives you -25 second cooldown, meaning you'll get it even more often. As well as that, the combo bonus max health per kill was increased significantly from, instead of +30, it's now +40 and +2 per boon. So you'll get a lot more health as Moan Krill than you did before. If you get a lot of combo kills, it'll be very, very significant difference. Paige got a health per boon increase, despite everybody getting a decrease overall. So not only is everybody squishier, but Paige is going to be significantly less squishy. So, the gap between Paige and the other heroes should be like significantly more reasonable. So she shouldn't, just be getting one shot as much as she did before. The Bookworm tier 1 was changed from duration and radius to cooldown reduction. And the Bookworm tier 2 basically got swapped, right? So it was changed. So now it has +1 charge, +1 radius, and + trail duration. And then the tier 3 now gives you extra travel range instead of an extra charge. So these are just kind of like giving you different things earlier. So now, like in lane, you're going to be able to use Bookworm more often if you go for the first point, which might be interesting. The shield for Paige has increased spirit scaling for the fire rate component specifically. And the tier 3 shield for Paige now gives 100% barrier value, whereas previously only gave 75% of the barrier value. And rallying charge is now probably counted as a miss if the only thing that was impacted were non-heroes. So I think before it was like if it hit troopers, it was like, oh, you didn't actually miss it, so you don't get the cooldown reduction, which seems a little bit against the spirit, but now it actually should work. And the rallying charge tier 3 max amp got increased, so it'll do more damage if you actually hit it at far range. Now Paradox kinetic carbine also increases move speed spirit scaling, so you'll move faster if you have a lot of spirit while your kinetic carbine is charging or charged. Kinetic carbine tier 3 changed from affecting max damage scaling to affecting both min and max damage scaling. So I wonder if that's why it wasn't doing a whole lot of damage, because everybody knows that the kinetic carbine tier 3 upgrade has been one of the worst things for Paradox for a long time. So we'll definitely need to test, but this might make it so that it's actually quite good. Pocket bullet damage has been nerfed again, and flying cloak tier 3 also been nerfed. So pocket every patch is just, you know, they're receiving very small nerfs. Hopefully, you know, at some point it's going to be enough, right? But pocket's been S tier for who knows how many patches at this point. So everyone being slightly squishier should change the meta. You know, there's still a King of the Hill objective, but there's also Earn, which might, you know, happen on different sides of the map, which might make it so there's not as many huge fights, which should also be a nerf to pocket, along with these small nerfs, so it might all be enough. Now, Ram got some nerfs across the board, so tag-along healing, the spirit scaling of it, got nerfed a lot, from 0.66 to 0.4. The missing health spirit scaling also got nerfed significantly. Little helpers spirit resist got nerfed. However, the tier 1 of little helpers got buffed, and the tier 2 got buffed. So if you invest in little helpers, it's actually, you know, slightly better than it was before. However, like base, it's going to be worse. And the tier 3 also got changed from +2 helpers and +20% trooper damage and resist to +1 helper and +15% spirit resist. So you need to go all the way to tier 3 to get the spirit resist that you used to have. That was embedded, I believe, in the tier 2. Before you got +8 for 15, so you got a total of 23, right? Now you get 12, and if you go all the way to the tier 3, you get 15, so you get 27 instead of 23. But you need to go all the way to the tier 3 upgrade. On top of that, if I'm reading this correctly, let me see, you get +2 helpers. I believe you get 1 less helper overall. So now it's like, oh no, every upgrade gives you +1 helper. So you still get a total of 4, it looks like. 7, lightning ball charge delay was reduced. The stormcloud, the time to expand increased from 1.5 to 3.5 seconds. What that means is that it gives you more time to react to the ultimate, so you can run away from it. Stormcloud damage interval increased from 0.25 to 0.3. And the Stormcloud tier 2 also increases initial radius by +5. So if you put points in it, it'll mitigate a little bit the nerf of the time to expand. But overall, very, very slight changes to 7. Should not impact his power level too much, but it might make counterplay slightly easier. Now, Shiv got a lot of changes. It's kind of always the case, right? Like Shiv is, you know, kind of the infamous deadlock character that always gets a lot of changes. So alt fire damage now has a custom value per boon, which I think is cool. It enables, you know, building around the alt fire more. The alt fire ammo consumed per shot increased from 3 to 5, which is a lot. Alt fire knockback movement is now disabled by slowing hex state, so you're really not going to be moving crazy. Like if you're getting slowing hex, now slowing hex really screws Shiv over, whereas before it could kind of be ignored with your right click movement if you're really good at it. The knives cooldown got buffed. The slice and dice now deals light melee damage instead of spirit damage. So what that means is it'll now apply your melee items, right? This is a huge deal for Shiv because you're going to be able to apply Spirit Strike and melee lifesteal and things like that. So it's, and you know, the upgrades, of course, Spirit Snatch, for example. Slice and Dice change from -6% Spirit Resist to +4% damage am. So if you hit people with multiple dashes, you're going to be dealing a lot of damage to them. But I do think overall, this is kind of worse because it doesn't help your team at all. So I'm not sure, you know, if this is going to help Shiv. The Bloodletting tier 2 was changed from +15% incoming damage deferred to +35 deferred damage cleared. Essentially, that makes it so that, you know, the amount of damage that you're deferring in the first place is worse, but out of the damage that you defer, you can clear more of it earlier. But you do get the deferred damage back on tier 3. Overall, these are nerfs to Bloodletting. Just objectively, like, this is definitely worse. Killing Blow now deals damage to troopers and neutrals along the way. Killing Blow executing your hero now instantly fills the rage bar. So if you just get in the fight, you find and execute right away, you're full rage. I think that's kind of cool. And the tier 3 has recast within 20 seconds on a hero kill as part of the base ability. So you no longer need to max Killing Blow to have recast. So you can cast Killing Blow multiple times and execute multiple people as part of the base ability, which might have like an insane amount of power. We'll see. But, you know, this definitely makes up for some of the nerfs that we saw previously. The full rage damage bonus was reduced, however, by 4%. The range was also reduced significantly from 18 to 12 meters. However, if you put 1 point in it, you get it back. So it's just the base range is not as good, but you need to invest into it a little bit. And you also get back the bonus damage nerf if you put 2 points into it. And the tier 3 is better. So Shiv's ultimate, I think, is going to be really crazy now. We'll see, like, how it goes, but he's also got access to more damage than he did previously, so his single target damage might also be better in some capacities, as well as the fact that he can easily apply you know, Spirit Snatch and things like that without having to light melee and take the risk of getting parried. So a lot of shift changes. We'll see exactly how it plays out. I think some of these are in the right direction, like nerfing bloodletting and stuff, and making it so the movement is more counterable. But we'll see how it plays out. Now, Vindicta got her stake cooldown tier 2 buffed, so she gets 2 seconds less cooldown. Crow Familiar tier 2 also got a similar treatment, so if you invest 2 points into Crow, you get minus 16 instead of minus 12 cooldown. Assassinating max bit damage bonus spirit scaling increased from 2 to 2.3. So this is a slightly more than 10% increase in the scaling. I already think Vindicta was not super weak, so all of these changes should make Vindicta like a lot better, especially since people are going to be squishier. She's a sniper, so she benefits from that. Viscous Splatter tier 3 spirit scaling. Oh yeah, another thing about Vindicta is since people get their AP upgrade sooner, that should also like be really good for like a tempo character like Vindicta that wants to roam and get a bunch of kills early. So we'll see how it affects her. Viscous Splatter tier 3 spirit scaling got nerfed a little bit. The Puddle Punch tier 3 got a buff, and the Goo Ball tier 3 got a buff. So the only thing that was nerfed about Viscous is the splatter scaling. I think that it should have been nerfed a little bit more, but it is the right direction. Like the main problem with Viscous, in my opinion, is the splatter doing too much damage and making it so you just go splatter Cube, and Cube's already the best save in the game. So buffing his other abilities is fine in my mind, but I do wish they nerfed splatter a bit more. Viper Screw Jab Dagger tier 3 now also reduces charge delay from 4 seconds to 2 seconds. And Slither tier 3 spirit scaling increase. So they want Viper to use her abilities more. We'll see if that does anything, because pretty much every time they've changed Viper abilities, people still just go full gun and just kill you instantly. But you know, they really want to make it so that you want to use your Screw Jab Dagger instead of like completely ignoring it later in the game. Warden got another bullet damage per boon reduction, so I believe this is the second one in a row. And Willpower tier 2 got a buff, and Willpower tier 3 spirit scaling got a buff. So it seems to me that they don't really want Warden to be like a gun carry type hero. It seems that they want Warden to be more of like a hero that is a frontliner type, because they keep buffing the frontline aspects of it. Like they buff the ultimate, they buff the willpower. You know, Warden has really good health scaling, and they keep nerfing the bullet damage. So I don't really think that they want Warden to be dealing like absurd amounts of damage with his gun. I think that they want Warden to be a hero that, you know, plays in a similar range to what a hero like Billy might play. Obviously not quite melee range, but you know, they kind of want him to be that frontline disruptor type hero. That's all we've got for the balance changes. I know this was a bit of a long video because, you know, we had a lot to cover. I'm excited to be trying out the patch. Unfortunately, today I've got some stuff planned, so I won't be able to play it. But, you know, make sure to tune into the stream tomorrow and let me know what you think. And thank you guys for the support. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you guys soon. Bye-bye.